what I'm going to do is, if you have a ruler, great. If not, totally fine. You could do it freehand. I am going to use a ruler. I'm going to give it a little bit of a frame all the way around, and I'm just using the width of my ruler to do that. And what I want to do is divide this page. This one's always a tricky one. Divide this into 8 squares or 8 rectangles. So I'm going to eyeball it. You can measure it. You could take measurements. So this is 11 and a half. I've right about here. That's pretty close as where I would have put it. And I want you to divide it in half and then divide it in half horizontally. Then you're going to divide it in half again vertically. Now you could do these exercises larger, meaning these squares don't have to be this small. They could be larger. They could be full page even. But what we're going to do, because of time, I want to make sure we finish this whole page and you get an understanding of what we are trying to do. So we're going to try to deal with the absolute basic fundamental concept in drawing, which is, what is drawing? Well, it's, in a way, it's putting lines of something somewhere. Like you could use a stick and draw lines on the sand in a beach. And that's drawing. I've seen people draw with light in the air. That's drawing. I've seen planes draw shapes up in the sky with smoke. That's drawing. We're using a pencil on paper. So technically breaking it down, what we're doing is putting lines on the paper, graphite lines. Now, if we go a little bit further, what kind of lines? So for this first top square here, again, force yourself to stick with this grip today, and as long as you can, really. What we're going to try to do is this. Find our range of motion. What I want you to do is from top to bottom, fill this entire rectangle with vertical lines. Now, these lines are going to be light, and I want you to place them as close to each other as possible. And you begin to see, oh, wow, I do have to pay attention to my posture. If I'm sitting down, if I'm standing up, if I have an easel, if the paper's flat, if the paper's 30 degrees, if the paper's 90 degrees, what really feels absolutely the best in order for me to deliver this type of line. Now, there is one little trick that I see students try, which is they will flip this, which technically it's not a vertical line anymore. You're doing horizontal or diagonals. No. Here you want to feel the posture of your legs, body, shoulder, head, arm, in order for you to be able to deliver a vertical line that goes from top to bottom. It does not get more fundamental than this. Now, don't be afraid. You are discovering the extent of your skill. And this exercise is going to show you where you need to pay more attention. Because there are going to be lines that, ooh, this feels really easy. And there are going to be others that, oh boy, you're going to hate. And I use that word because, oh, it's like, how do I can't. And it's finding what makes me deliver that with ease. Generally, it's the grip, Posture. Now, I'm not saying you have to do this every single time, but it comes time when you're drawing and you need to draw a vertical top to bottom line. If you've never practiced it before, how are you going to do it? So this is just that, practice. Don't concern yourself with, oh, it's crooked, it doesn't look great, they're overlapping, they look more like circular lines. Totally fine. Remember, you can do this over and over, and you will. It's actually a very relaxing. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit because my lights are a little bit they are light. I'm working on my pressure here. There we go. So you can see, um, ideally, one day you'll get to people asking you, wow, did you do that with a ruler? No, you just freehanded them. Now, the other thing to pay attention to here is when you're looking at grip, you're looking at pressure, you also look at your pace. Now, some people might do this really fast and they are going to be, it looks like they did it with a ruler. Some will have to go super slow. Totally fine. That is you finding your pace of work. So, all of these things, posture, range of motion, pressure, um, and pace, are going to be the things to look out for, to think about what is helping you, what could be hurting you. Okay, so I'm going to put a little marker here at the edge, reminding me that this was top to bottom and in a vertical. Now, guess what? This next one, we're going to go bottom to top. And oh boy, see, there you go. How do I arrange? How do I set myself up for success? My line, I want it to remain hair thin. I don't want it to get thicker, meaning my pencil angle must be a little bit higher. I'm trying to find my pace. But I do want, in a way, subconsciously, I'm thinking I have a starting point, and in my mind, there has to be somewhat of like a GPS telling me where I need to go. So being aware of that, like, okay, I can visualize where I need to start, where I need to end. Sometimes that helps. Like you have a target and you just aim your line and throw it. So in a way, it's just throwing lines here. Now you could do this with pencil, you could do it with ink pens, you could do it with brushes. You could really just apply this concept to any type of art practice because it is fundamental. So all of these ranges of motion that are only trying to show you where you need to work a little bit more and maybe how much further you can push it. Next, so these two we're going to. Now, I want to point out for those of you who would take this a little bit further, we did top to bottom, vertical, and then we did bottom to top, vertical. But you could also do additional pages of top to bottom, and we were going left to right. But you could do top to bottom from right to left. You could do bottom to top from left to right, and you'll find yourself feeling, oh, wow, it does add a little bit of variation because it is a new variable that we're adding in there. It's not just top to bottom, it's also the left to right direction that we're planning our lines in. So it's different when we go this way than when we go this way. Or how much of a difference do you feel? Here we're going to go horizontal. So same thing. We're going to go in this direction, left to right, and we're going to go top to bottom. So notice my grip, notice my pressure. As you get better and better with these exercises, you want to maybe force yourself to one of the variables that would actually make this even, give it a little bit of added difficulty would be to do it larger. So if I were doing lines filling up this entire page, that's one extra step of difficulty. The other one would be to begin to grab the pencil longer and maintain that quality of line and maintain the amount of pressure that you want. And finally, the one, and I think the most crucial one, is being able to put those lines literally right on top of each other where you barely see any space between them. And then little by little, modifying your pace, modifying your pressure, getting absolute control. So when you need to draw a line, any type of line, you know how it's going to look before you even attempt it. Because you know what type of pencil to use, you know how to grip it, you know which direction to go with it, and you've practiced all of the outcomes. So you'll see how much easier it is to visualize. And we're doing all these lines, like I said, everything you draw is a line. So the variations that we're going to do today should cover pretty much every single type of line that you will ever draw. There we go. So again, I might be working too fast for some of you. This is an exercise that I'm presenting. You don't have to finish it. If you want to just stick with it, go for it. It should take you much longer. Some of you might finish it even faster than me. Make sure you revisit and play around with all of these variables that I'm talking about. Okay, so the next one is going to be horizontals, but this time we're going right to left. And remember, we went left to right, horizontal, top to bottom. You could also do it bottom to top. So we're going right to left, horizontal, and once again, top to bottom. Somehow this already feels there is a big difference already in the way I feel the angle of the line. I feel the angle kind of drops, and that makes perfect sense because of the rotation. My body, I'm going into my body, not away from my body. So you have to consider, yeah, there's a kind of a circular motion from the shoulder. So again, positioning yourself, making sure you have the proper distance from the paper in order to create that range of motion. Next, we are going to, yep, I put my little marker there. Here come the fun ones. And I wish I could see you guys. I wish I could be over your shoulder watching you do this when you attempt the following, because it is very revealing. This one, we are going to diagonal. So if we're familiar with angles, we're going to try to go with not horizontal, not vertical, about 45 degrees. 30 degrees is fine, 20 degrees, totally fine, as long as they're not horizontal or vertical and that it is obvious that they are not horizontal or vertical. We are going to go from top to bottom and simultaneously from right to left. And I want to find that range of motion. Notice that I have to place the line and I have to consider something about these edges now that I wasn't considering before. Having a sense of where this line is supposed to start and follow just with the guide of the previous line, forcing me to maybe just do a little extra process in my thinking to maintain that angle. And at the same time, keep these lines close to each other and with a good line quality. There we go. This next one, we're going to go the opposite direction. So we're going to go, and again, the variations, as I mentioned before, top to bottom, left to right, from right to left, bottom to top, all of them. You could just multiply them and do all of the variations. Anything you can come up with. This one, we're going to go from bottom to top, and we're going to go in the opposite direction. So I'm sorry, wait a minute. So I have these going top to bottom. We want to go bottom to top, but in the opposite direction. So we start at this corner, and we're going to work our way to this one here. And notice already there's a little bit of kind of a tightening my body. It's resistance that I have to somehow ease out and figure out without struggle, checking grip, checking posture, checking pressure, checking pace, and find ease and comfort. And already I could see a quality of line that I actually enjoy. Looks much better. So, who wouldn't agree? Sometimes in life, a little struggle can bring you lots of joy at the end. It's that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. There's no rainbows without rain. A little bit of struggle sometimes feels that satisfaction of success at the end. It is a little extra special. If it's too easy, the tendency it gets too boring. And that's how we humans are. So dealing with that little bit of struggle, how to solve the problem, because we have a problem. I want to draw a line from here to there. I want to put them this far from each other, and I want to go in this direction at this pressure, and I want it to look this way. So every single one of those things you present it as a problem, and then you, as an artist, find the solution. And there we are. So this one, we're going in this direction. And I'm just going to place it right on top of here. And I'm placing the arrow where we started and in which direction we were headed. There we are. For these next two, it gets a little more, again, and I'm skipping a lot of the variations that we could have done. For this next one, we're going to go back to vertical, but I'm going to add a little bit of curvature to them. So I'm looking at, think of the letter S and think of the letter C. And we're going to make sort of S, C shapes. And in a way, they become just waves, hair, different textures. And I do want to kind of follow the rhythm of some of these lines and maintain a little bit of that same distance from line to line. It could be a little more intuitive. So the line variation and the waviness, as you add more lines, some of these will get increase, and you'll see how, again, you're presented with a problem and you're going to have to solve it because these lines were getting a little too wavy. So I could increase or decrease the amount of curvature and come back and add a line in between that. Maybe I could straighten it out just a little bit so I could keep control of that curvature. And always paying attention to how it feels. It should feel pleasing, almost meditative, where you zone out. Artists, athletes, um, everyone talks about that being in the zone where time stops. And you could be doing this for oh my God, has it been 4 hours? And I'm not even hungry. That kind of place. Um, and I've been there, and it is amazing. It's amazing all the time. This is the kind of practice that gets you there pretty fast. You could get really just lost in this space. Um, and it is a beautiful thing. Um, Finally, we're going to go horizontal. So I'm going to try to, again, feel that SC shape and fill this up with variations. I want to remind myself we were going from top to bottom and left to right. Make sure you put a marker on there like I just did here. And here we want to continue top to bottom. And we should have done bottom to top. But again, it's an exercise that the more you practice all of these very simple, and let me tell you, this is an art form. You could create beautiful, amazing, museum quality masterpieces using just this. It has been done in a way using vertical, horizontal, diagonal, or curvy lines on paper. Now, I don't get the sense that is abstract. In a way, I'm looking at hair, I'm looking at waves. I get the feel of somewhat ocean. It's all of these elements that will unleash your creativity and then just keep pushing it further and further. The more you can feel you have control, and you'll feel like you could draw anything because you can. And it's just a matter of how far are you willing to push in terms of that comfort level, that struggle that you need to easily find a way to get over and make it comfortable and easy. There we go. And notice how there's that beautiful wavy, it almost looks like one of those geological, kind of a mountainside. Anyways, amazing. Imagine this in color or with ink. Um, all the variations that you can think of. It just really opens up um, possibilities. So this highly recommend as well. I'm going to add a marker that will remind me how we got here.